Hey y'all, welcome to episode 3 with Tales from the Dorm. I'm Dennis.
Good job, Dennis.
Tales from the Dorm. I'm Dennis.
I'm Khalil.
And we're your co-hosts, and today we have our special guest, Edmillie.
Oh,
That's funny.
That's so crazy.
Hi, I'm Edmillie.
And I'm Zitlali.
And today, before we start anything, I'm gonna read some tweets off of MSU Confessions. So you guys react however you want. I'm gonna start reading this. You ever want to say F you to anyone? Well, this random F'd my boyfriend and they gave him an STD. My boyfriend, who had no clue, had sex with me, and now I have an STD. I don't want to give her name, but fuck you, white blonde bitch from Blanton.
White blonde from Blanton.
Wow. To be granted, that's a lot. They could be anyone from Blanton. Anyone. It's another one. Y'all swear your teachers can't teach, but you're the same.
Okay.
Just say it.
Alright, motherfuckers who sit in the back of the class with your friend talking about what Harry Styles' dick size is. Take some responsibility. Wow.
Harry Styles is crazy.
Oh,
my God.
Jesus. Okay.
Never mind.
Excuse me?
Nah, because we're not really on the back.
Let's talk about it. Y'all know.
Let's talk about it.
Y'all know.
Alright.
Y'all know.
Speaking of that, let's talk about Big Sean.
Anyway.
That's
alright.
crazy. Hey, there's a reason he pulled Ariana Grande.
I
That's
go,
the reason he pulled Janae.
That
Impregnated her.
I go to the gym every day.
That's our podcast. I can talk
Yeah,
about that.
I go to the gym every day and I always see this big group of people playing volleyball. Normally, I wouldn't give a fuck. But there's this really cute brown boy and this really cute Asian boy. I want to talk to them, but they're always in a big group. I relate to that.
I was gonna be
Like,
like, it's
talk
us.
to them.
It's us.
it's like, it's me. I'm the Asian boy.
So talk to them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go.
Make
Why
friends.
not?
Ooh.
Shooting your shot works.
I don't know how to feel about this. PSA to my roommates. If you live with randoms, don't fucking pregame at your place. It's rude and you're obnoxious. Wow. Go somewhere else where everyone wants to hear you sing along to your shitty ass music. This person,
That's crazy.
That's,
don't
they're
need
bitter,
that.
yeah.
yeah, that
like,
person was bitter.
They're trying to have a good time.
Yeah.
That was so... Like, if you hate someone's, like, happiness...
No, but also,
You're
like, I
really
understand.
fucked up.
Because, like, everyone's having fun with that. Because they're not friends, I'm assuming.
They're just
Like,
yeah,
random
it's just
roommates.
random
But, like,
roommates.
yeah, you're not making the effort to try to be friends with them. Like,
Well, what if they didn't
yeah.
ask?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Like, they didn't ask for them to join.
I feel like there's a way that you can sort of do it that makes it seem like you're open to an invitation. You know what I mean? Like, if you've never talked to them or whatever, they're obviously not always going to be like, hey, do you want to, like, join our friend group? or
Yeah, that
whatever?
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't
like,
know.
you've already created the vibe that...
You're a
like,
hater.
No,
Now,
yeah.
I'm not going to want to...
Why would I invite you after that?
If you're a hater,
I see.
if you're out here telling me to shut my shit down, like, just don't be mad because you didn't get an invitation. Clearly.
That's like my bad, y'all. We had some technical difficulties.
Yeah. Some
All right.
slight.
This is the next one, our next confession. I have been withdrawing from all of my friends. I don't even know if they notice or not. I just don't want to be around anyone anymore. I'm too depressed to even leave my dorm most days. I just hope they aren't upset or think that I'm mad at them. I'd rather they just stop caring.
I'd rather they just stop caring.
Yeah, I'd rather they just stop caring.
Ooh.
Wow.
I say that if they don't notice, and I think that's like a sign
Well, I
that
feel
maybe
like
they're
he's saying that they care too much and they keep checking up on
Oh.
that person,
And he doesn't want that.
and they don't want that. So,
I'm really sorry you feel that way.
I say step number 1.
Is why
we laugh.
I'm waiting to hear
I'm
your
waiting.
answer.
Wait a second, yo! I'm not a professional. I'm not giving steps. I say step number 1. Find people that you can confide in, because I feel like you will get to a point, even though you're like down in the trenches, that all you need is that one person to ask you, like, are you okay one more time? Even if they keep asking you, keep saying no, I'm fine, whatever. It takes that one person to ask you that one more time, and you'll get there. Like that one person that's consistent. So even if it annoys you, they do it because they care. And I feel like you should just communicate, like, I'm feeling this type of way. You can obviously get help. Get help.
Don't go to Caps though.
Don't go to cops, but definitely
Don't
get
go.
help.
BetterHelp is not sponsoring, but
BetterHelp is not sponsoring.
Alright.
So
we don't need.
Alright.
until then,
This one's the juicy one.
Oh.
ooh,
It's like a peach. It's a lot of juice.
excuse me. Why a peach?
This
Dennis,
guy,
you're
bro.
so out of
You're
pocket.
so sus,
Yeah,
bro.
why
Oh wow. Okay. Alright. There's some guy on the 6th floor in Gibson that you can hear through the walls asking his roommate and friends to slap his ass all the time while he records it. Apparently, he also has a foot fetish.
It's
Listen, we do not criticize fetishes in the
no,
household.
no shame.
Yeah.
There's
But
no
also,
shame in
like-
the fetish game. But wow,
This is a-
where did that one take you out? Does this sound familiar?
No, bro. I'm
Did-
just
did-
imagining the situation, bro.
He's like, oh
You're
yeah,
imagining
bro.
it?
I'm like
You're
imagining.
imagining
I'm
it?
like
You're
imagining,
someone getting their ass slapped.
like
You're
hearing
picturing,
it.
oh,
Yeah.
No,
You're
you're
laying
laying dead.
Can you imagine like you're laying
Hey,
down, you're reading a
if you
book.
want to get your ass slapped, just say that. Because you said it this morning.
Yeah.
He did.
You've been giving clear signs,
You have
actually. Like,
given
Why are
signs.
you opping me up? This
So you're-
morning has
so you
nothing to
admit
do
it.
with right now.
Oh, so you admit
So
you
you're
admit
not-
I
it.
didn't what? I didn't
Because
admit
it's just you opt
anything.
you out.
You know that it happened this morning, so you're calling me a liar?
What are you talking about?
Ah.
Huh?
Ah.
It's okay.
Yeah,
No
it's
need
okay.
to shame. We
I
get
need
it.
to read this one. Yo, I need to read. Hold on.
Wait, but okay, go ahead.
Why are people so horny here? I swear to everything I own, I saw this dude watching Goku porn at Sam's in the corner.
No, because I heard that there's like most people that watch porn like on their computer, and they're just not ashamed.
In the middle of class,
You're
like
just
in the
not
middle of
ashamed?
Sam's?
No, they're not ashamed.
My
Yeah,
question
that's what I
is,
said.
okay, you watch porn. That's besides the point. In a public place, okay.
Then what
But
kind
then,
of porn are you watching?
why are you watching
Goku,
porn
the
if
anime.
you're not gonna do anything about it? Like, you know you're in
Yeah.
public, you know you're not gonna fucking put your hands down. You know you're not gonna be doing stuff.
We can't
So
air
what was
this
the point?
episode.
Yeah.
We can't air this episode, yo. Oh,
Is
that's
there any
funny.
restrictions?
That's
I
so
mean, you
funny.
didn't let us know there were restrictions.
Right.
I didn't know there was restrictions.
Oh, Jesus.
No, there's no
There's no
restriction.
Okay, good.
Oh,
So
okay.
then why the fuck why can you not edit this episode?
We were trying to
keep
not
it
make it.
clean.
Yeah.
Oh.
But like.
You're telling me
I
from
said
what
it
you're
first.
saying you're gonna keep it clean?
That's
No,
what I'm
that's
saying.
Like, we started,
Like that's
yeah.
why when he started like trying to
Cursing.
censor himself, I was like, "Well, just say it,"
Yeah.
because there's too much of it.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm
It's
sorry.
fine, it's fine.
Redacted.
Sorry.
No, yeah.
Redacted.
I said that the second episode. I was like, redacted. Alright, this is the last one. I've been with my boyfriend for a year now, or so. I feel like I'm actually starting to hate him. There's no way to say it nicely. I feel like he's becoming a loser. He's obsessed with stupid YouTubers and lost money multiple times invested in stupid online schemes like Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, Andrew Tate, etc.
Not interesting.
Oh, no.
He just seems so gullible and dumb. I can't get through to him.
So at
You
first,
see- oh, sorry,
I was like, "Why do you hate him?" And then she said, "Andrew's hate," which is not a reason to hate, but it is. But also, like, how do you just hate him out of nowhere? Like, how does that?
I don't think it's out of nowhere.
I think. Well, yeah, obviously, but like,
Well, definitely she's been building some sort of resentment
Yeah,
over the year
definite-
or so.
it seems like it's part personal.
And
like-
not only that, but I was like, okay, maybe he's just like a nerdy type, whatever. Maybe he's just really, there's some people who are gullible, some people are naive. But then he said Andrew's hate.
yeah.
And I don't forgive that.
I
I don't even
So,
think it's just that. I think
Yeah.
it's the fact that she said like he can't even get through to him. Like
break
Oh,
up.
yeah.
because if he's stubborn
Break up.
about it, then yeah. That's
If he
where
invested money in
it
Andrew
goes
Tate,
wrong.
break up.
Literally,
No,
But
yeah.
that's kind of
It's
that's very
happened to you
sus
as well.
actually.
Immediate
Break
red
up.
flag. Like, cut it out.
Yeah, no, that's unforgivable.
Never settle.
And you're settling, babes.
Wow. Okay, well,
Break up.
that was all the confessions that I found that were pretty funny. If you have any confessions,
Those
just
were
to
funny.
share- those were kind of funny because it's just the fact that like there's people in campers that just have no chill.
They really don't.
They don't.
I feel like they have the most chill because if you're gonna do it anonymously, then you have the most chill.
I guess, but like the thing is like no, I'm talking about the people that these things are about, like about that
Oh
dude.
yeah,
Like,
I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, that guy.
All right.
into his
If you're
ass
watching
that was
Goku porn in the
different.
middle of playing, I need you to please
In the
do
middle of
everyone a
Sam's.
favor. Go to your fucking room.
I'm getting my pizza and I see this.
and
I
if
just
you're a
want my
commuter
pizza.
doing this shit, go to your car. Oh my god.
What if they don't got a car?
Then watch that shit outside.
Refreshment.
Refreshment. All right, so today's episode is about expectations.
This guy, bro.
God.
That's crazy.
Yes, it's about expectations, and that encompasses in whatever any relationship that you want. Expectations as friends, expectations as
Lovers.
I was about to say that as lovers. The expectation we have as men, and the expectation as women as well. That's why also we have these two guest speakers here. Yeah, for different perspectives.
The women.
And also
So we have
expectations as theater students specifically,
That's crazy.
because all four of us are part of the BFA acting department. So
Yeah.
I guess go ahead. I thought you were gonna speak. No, okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, okay, cool.
I appreciate
I guess I'll start with the expectation I have as an older brother. I'm the middle child, so I have a younger sister and an older brother. And throughout my formative years, I had, luckily, throughout my formative years, I had an older brother who took care of me and tried to look out for me. If I listened to him, that's not part of that question, but like, now I am in charge of a younger sister who I have to take care of, and my expectation is I have to be there for her, and basically, as an older brother, I feel like it's my responsibility to put my life on pause to make sure that she's okay sometimes, and I feel like that's not something that everyone does, but that's something that my brother has put that expectation on me for.
I would say I also definitely. Sorry, I definitely agree with that. I definitely relate to that because I'm also like an older sister, and like I remember you brought it up the other day too, like in class, and like it is very true. Like you kind of have to like literally put yourself aside and just kind of like, as much as you don't want to, you just kind of have to let it happen for the sake of their own well-being. But
That's so crazy. My older brother is calling me as this is happening.
Oh,
that's
wow.
so we put.
We put him on the podcast. I don't have a younger sibling. Well, I do, but that's besides the point. Another story. Story time. No. But I feel like I can sort of speak to that because of the fact that I've seen my brother grow through that like mindset where he felt like, oh, like I have to, like, I want you to do this, or I'm trying to give you these tools so you can do this better than me. Like I want you to be better than me. And my brother has always told me that, like, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me. And I feel like that also puts a lot of pressure on the younger sibling to have that mindset of like, oh, I want to do this for you, because it's almost like I want you to be perfect because they're giving you these tools, so why can't you succeed if they're giving them to you and they didn't have them? So you should be succeeding. You should be being able to do all these things. And so when you do have that mindset as an older sibling, as like, I want you to be better than me, it puts like this immense pressure on the younger sibling to not only reach those goals, but then surpass them and be like great.
Definitely.
And although we want that for people, there's some people who don't want to be great. And there's some people who just want to like live life, be low key, and whatever that is. So I feel like you have to just be aware of how much pressure you're putting on your younger sibling, and like how like your words, how you say it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people
lack communication,
and they take those words to heart. You'll remember that shit forever.
And that's very true because when I was the younger sibling, my brother put these expectations of how I'm supposed to be, and it wasn't even him. It was the fact that like my parents saw, like my brother came to this country at 15, and he went through some tough times of like almost not even graduating college, and then he started getting like a salary as soon as he graduated, and then my parents turned to me and they're like, oh, your turn, and I'm like, like I want to be an actor, and we're like, oh, and it was that.
Where's your money?
No, right. So it's really interesting to see that because of the fact that like I definitely have both perspectives. As like I was the younger sibling that had that, and now I'm the older sibling that's like, I'm not pushing my sister, but I kind of do tell her like, oh hey, like you know, like instead of being on your phone, like you can read. Like she likes reading, so I'm like, you could like read. Like I got you this book, or like things like a gentle push, to do stuff that
encourages them.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I feel like because I'm also a younger sibling. I have no younger siblings at all. The closest thing, okay, the closest thing that I've had to responsibility within taking care of someone younger than me is my nephews, my nieces, and you know, with that I could see, I guess not the, yeah, I could see the struggle that comes with being an older sibling. I also like to just think about the perspectives of my older siblings and just how they went about things and how unfair things were for them. But I think that leads into the whole aspect of like the gaps, like the generational gaps that come with the expectations within family. Like I feel like my older siblings, their expectation were completely different than what our expectation is now, in a generation that's changing so like fast and wants us to get money and invest money and all these things, and like, you know, you have to be this by this age and you have to start doing online this and all these things because we didn't have that back then, so you got to utilize this. So it's like all that pressure that comes from, you know, what they didn't have, and so they're pushing, like Dennis said, sometimes it's a gentle push, but sometimes it's like, okay, like they're just shoving me at that point, like, bro, like I got it, like I can do it. And it's, no, I get that, but it's like what I would like as a younger sibling, like Edmillie said, in terms of it being pressure, it's already pressure enough.
Oh yeah.
So it's like we are aware. We're not like not self-aware of the fact that all these things are at our like fingertips. All these like job opportunities and like all these things that are going to make us better human beings. But rather than it being like, if you don't do this and taking my advice, I'm going to be disappointed in you. It being, hey, giving me the link to this and being like, hey, you should try this. You should check this out. I saw that this is, you know, helping this guy out. So I want you to do better.
That's a good point. Because I feel like, I guess the other part of expectation is disappointment. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can have expectation without having disappointment. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the expectation isn't so much the problem. Okay, how am I trying to word this? Hold on. The expectation isn't so much the problem than it is the disappointment. Mm-hmm. And like what comes with that. Yeah, I get that. Because I feel like, yes, you can have an expectation, because I feel like to tell people to like not have expectations is unrealistic, because I feel like that's the first thing we do. We always have expectations. But I feel like to the degree, like if
how many people?
How we were talking to like Hector before. Hector's a friend.
Hector's a friend.
Who he was saying like he feels like expectations that other people have on him define his life. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he weighs that expectation of people so high and so heavily that the disappointment factor is so much worse. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So who you disappoint?
So I feel like So I feel like then the fear of disappointment is what's like motivating you through life. Mm-hmm. But then you're gonna end up in things that you don't want to do, that you're doing for other people, not for yourself. Mm-hmm. Either way, you're gonna be unhappy.
Of course, it's the fact that like, I have two things to say about that. It's because of the fact that like, when you are faced with like the potential of disappointing someone, and like especially just like disappointing someone that you're not even close to, it's already a negative feeling, a negative emotion in you, like makes you feel bad. But then disappointing someone that's really close to you, that's like the worst, because you're just like, you know, like my parents, like eventually, like I at first like my parents would hit me and stuff like whenever I was bad, but then eventually they're just like, no, I'm disappointed in you, like everything that a parent says.
So much worse.
That
like,
was way worse.
Yeah, I'm just like, I won't do it again. I'm sorry. Like I just like,
I won't do it again.
Just hit me and let it be over.
Exactly.
Not hit me.
But because it's just interesting because of the fact that like this isn't just expectations we have in terms of like what our parents or our closest family members put on us. It's also the fact that like societal. Thank you. In society, they put a lot of pressure on us as well. I think especially like if you come from different cultures, like Zitlali and Edmillie and I are Hispanic, and Khalil is African American. And the thing that happens is that black, yeah.
Well, it's African American.
Okay, but the thing is like, you see how they bully me? No, like what's it called?
African American.
Right.
In case y'all didn't know.
I guess you couldn't tell.
So anyway, so what happened is that definitely like speaking to like older generation, like my grandma and my grandpa, they like are surprised that I don't even have a card to my name yet, because at their age, at my parents' age, they already had a kid, they already were married, and they didn't graduate. They got out of school because of these decisions that they made. And I think like especially like you see this in like a lot of like minority households, is the fact that like they don't want you to repeat the mistakes of the past. It's kind of like what Khalil was saying, of like they don't want you to go through the hardships that they went through. That's why, for example, my parents were always about education, because they didn't have that education, so they had to work like, you know, off jobs, or they had to work like, you know, jobs that they didn't want for themselves. They didn't have a career, and they don't want that for ourselves. But then we're constantly in a clash, because now, you know, for example, like we can make money off of anything. We can sell stuff online and we make money, like all these things. Like there's various sources of income that don't require an education, but the older generation is like, no, an education is something that you get, and you're automatically set for life for money. And you don't get that, because there's a lot of people that get degrees and they don't have a job that
and they're
pays
in
well.
debt.
And they're in debt, and
Let's
that's
talk about those student loans.
exactly, like that's also something. It's just the fact like expectation that comes as a student, of the fact that like when I chose to be in to pursue acting, I was faced with this like backlash of like, oh, but you're not really studying anything. So like, what are you going to get out of life, or what are you winning?
Money for?
Yeah.
What's your plan B?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what else do you like?
And
How are you getting money?
Exactly, like that expectation is kind of like the fact that like it hinders you. I know like for a fact that like it hindered me as an actor, because every time I took a step forward, I was always like taking 2 steps back, because it was always my parents' voice in the back of my head being like, oh, but like what's your plan B? What's like the expectation that they have of me?
It's crazy because there's an expectation to go to college, because that's the generation we're living in. It's like you go to college, or like what else are you doing with your life? So it's like there's an expectation of going to college, but then there's also the expectation of having a specific major. Not even just that, just having the specific major. For at least like personally my parents. It's like, oh, if you're gonna go to college, and I'm gonna help you go to college and spend all this money for you to, you know, do this for 4 years, go do it, be a doctor, go be an engineer, go into law, like, because that's gonna make you money, and that's worth taking out loans for. And it's like, but like that's not gonna make me happy. And so I've witnessed this. There are people out there that literally are going to college, majoring in things simply for their parents, for the expectation that's set on them, so that they can, like you said, not disappoint. They don't disappoint their parents. That just, for some people, that's just what defines them. If they're not disappointing someone that they care about, that they love, then
that's success.
That's success. Yeah, that's success to them. Like, and
that's fine if that's your version of success.
But I honestly feel like you can't truly have success without happiness. Like, you have to do something at the end of the day that is something that you enjoy, or something that's for you, or you're not going to feel successful. Because you can have, in the eyes of society, success because you have this big job, whatever, but if you don't even like what you're doing, if you don't even like the path that you took to get there, fucking college was terrible for you and you hated school, or you're failing classes, but you got the degree and now you're in a job in a 9-to-5 that you despise.
It's never worth it.
It's never going to be worth it, because you're successful, you made it out, you can have a giant house and a family and whatever, but you're still going to be miserable. And then at that point, other things in your life are going to start falling apart.
You know what's funny about that is the fact that like I've seen, this is gonna get into like kind of like gender specific of like expectations, because it's interesting that you pointed that out. There was like a study that had the more that women have like more that value their careers, the studies have shown that like they have been without a family because they put their career first, and that was their form of success. But it's like this weird time that we live in where like society is telling, it's like again from like our first episode, how society is telling men 2 different things. I've seen in the terms of like there's some points where society expects women to be like strong, independent, and they're supposed to like get all of this money, and that's what drives them to get career driven. And then meanwhile, there's also the societal side of like, no, but you're supposed to be a mother, you're supposed to be a wife, you're supposed to be this, and then those two cannot coexist well.
Correct.
Because if they do, you have to sacrifice one thing for the other, and it happens is in terms of like, for example, like gender roles. I see them as real when you notice the fact that like a woman who values her career and puts her career first, when she dies, she didn't have time for a husband, she didn't have time for for children, so she dies alone. And without even friends, because they didn't have the time to make the friends because they were so busy with career. And the same goes for guys. But I'm saying, like, this is, like, a weird thing that I saw. Because it was the fact that, like, you know, I remember, like, I have cousins who decided to just become a housewife, and that's it. But then, like, then I have other cousins who decide to, like, follow their careers. But then I think about it, and, like, when they die, the people who the girls did decide to become a housewife, they're gonna be surrounded by like grandchildren and great grandchildren and all of this, and it's the fact that like the other person might be surrounded by no one. And I guess it's just interesting the fact that like expectation just can form different signs of success, and whether that's your version of success and it isn't, I don't even know, because what you said, like, you can be successful in the economically, but if you're not happy, then like I don't want that, because that's not my version of success.
Right.
And I guess it's just the fact is like, what's more important to you guys, and like to anyone, like what's more important to you, like that, like success in that sense.
I feel like that has. No, I've talked. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna touch on what you said of like how there's people that like want, because I've like know people that have told me that are, like, they generally just want to be like a housewife, like they just want to be home and like have kids and like, you know, cook for their family, and that's what makes them happy, and like good for them. But also like there's like people that also like want to generally just like live their life by themselves, like they don't want to get married, they don't want to have children, they don't want to, like, that's their like what's the word, that's their form of like happiness, like to them. Yeah, so I think that's so interesting, because like you said, like like to both of them, it's like that's their form of happiness, but it's like they're two different things. So it's like you really can't be like, okay, you have to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and then you'll be happy. Because it's like, well, that's not really true. Because that's my form of happiness, or yours doesn't mean it's mine.
I think that's why expectations are so tricky, and why a lot of the times they don't work. And it's because you can have, because everything is just so individual. I don't think you can have like this umbrella term or umbrella like life of like, this is what you have to do to be happy. You can't really have the best of both worlds, in the sense of like, not everything is going to be perfect. Even women who are extremely successful in the business world, what's happening? I'm trying to speak.
No,
sorry. God.
Go ahead.
Do you need to unlock it?
Yeah, can you just unlock it?
Pause.
We've been going for 28 minutes.
I know, it feels
I
right.
know.
You were saying? So sorry.
What was I saying? You have to remind me.
Umbrella, something successful.
Right. You can't have it. Thank you.
I was listening.
You can't have an umbrella term or an umbrella life that defines what happiness is. And I think I was literally telling this to Khalil the other day. I was literally saying, like, you can't say, okay, these are the steps that you can take to be successful, to be happy, and it's going to work for every single person on the planet, because everyone's going to want different things depending on their interests and stuff. And I also feel like when, like, even women who have best of both worlds, like, they're extremely successful and they have their family, they're lacking at one point, because you can't really be perfect in everything. So they're either missing their child's recitals to go to business meetings, or they're missing business meetings because they're at their children's recitals, you know. Like, either way, it's never going to be 100% perfect. You just have to decide what it is that works for you, and then say, fuck it, we bull.
Yeah.
And screw everyone else. Well. Everyone else's expectations of you. And that's not something that's going to be easy. I like to laugh.
What's happening?
No, I was gonna say it was a lot of editing. Cause we keep pausing and we keep going.
Well, this is the part of the editing process.
Yeah. Okay.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. You know, you've been a little too high on my on Saz.
Watch your videos so they can stop fighting.
We're supposed to be best friends, and you're like going around like this. Yo.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
I thought we should unpack that.
Right. Let's talk about friendship expectations
No,
now.
fine.
Yeah, let's talk about friend expectations.
Great segue,
because
Dennis.
I feel like there's some other things happening here. We talked about family. We talked about society. Briefly, we'll probably go back to that because it goes into everything. But friendship expectations. Let's talk about it.
I think sometimes friendships are harder than like romantic relationships.
They are.
They're so much harder because I forgot who I was talking to this or where I saw it, but it's like, fuck, I lost my train of thought. But I think even now, like as like a society, I think friendships are like way different than they were before. If that makes sense. And I don't know how or why, but I just think that they are. And I feel like, I don't know, like it's just, it's always like it's always a two-way street. Like it's never like, I don't know.
I feel like friendships are more difficult because of the fact that you literally, it's like a relationship that you get nothing out of.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's what sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you literally get nothing out of it. Like in a relationship, you know, you kind of have a mutual understanding that like, you know, you kind of get something out of it, not in the sense that everything is transactional, but, you know, you get love, attention, whatever it is that you get from that person. You get stuff from your family, you get, like, support, whatever the fuck. And then with friendships, it's kind of, you really get nothing other than the fact that I fuck with your vibe, you fuck with mine, and we've chosen. There's nothing binding us other than that we've just chosen it.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
You clearly disagree. So
I can't. Sorry, let me just say this before. I came across this quote because one of my favorite books is A Little Life. Highly recommend. But actually, no, I don't recommend. Don't read it. It's very sad. But
read it.
It's no.
Read it.
But one of the quotes is about friendship, and it's like you're literally bound by nothing but like trust. Like it's like nothing like like it's all it is. Like you're not like okay, you know, like it's literally like you can kind of get nothing out of it. It's like obviously you're gonna be there for each other, but it's also like. Because of trust. Like, you guys both trust each other. You guys are going to be there for each other. I don't know. What are you going to say?
I was going to say, I don't believe you get nothing out of friendship. Yeah. I believe friendship is probably even more special than relationships. Because a lot of friendships are longer lasting than romantic relationships. Right. And so with that being said, like, you come out of the womb most of the time alone, right? Like, you're in the womb alone. You're born alone. But besides the point when you come out and you're with your family, and for the most part you are by yourself, learning to understand yourself, learning to be by yourself. So yeah, like you go to until you go to school and then you start, you know, you start picking out people's vibes and figuring out who is alike to you, because before that you were figuring out yourself and you're figuring out what you like, so you can create those connections. I believe in life everything leads to connection, and because of that, you know, that's what you're getting out of friendship. You're getting long-lasting, for the most part, loyal, trusting, you know, loving friendships with people you can confide in, people you can talk to. You know, a lot of situations, a lot of conversations that you have with friendships usually lead to other relationships. A lot of friendships that I've had have led to other friendships. A lot of friendships that I've had led to relationships, to romantic relationships. You know, it's like you get a lot out of friendships and you really don't even realize it until you look back and you think about all the people that you've met in your life and what they've done for you unintentionally. It's never purposeful. It's just completely out of love. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like with relationships and romantic relationships, it's like, you know, like for whatever reason, everyone has that expectation of what is to be had in a romantic relationship. With a friendship, you don't necessarily always have that. You kind of figure that out as you go. In my opinion, I just feel like once you get that vibe from that person, you figure out, like, I don't know where I was going with that.
No,
you just figure out, you know, how to, like. You figure out
where you're taking the relationship.
Exactly. You figure out where you're taking the relationship. You figure out how serious. Okay. You figure out how serious and how much the relationship means to you, and then from there it just becomes either serious or not as serious or whatever.
I think it's also the fact that, like, I think friendship is like what you said a minute. Like with family, you are expected some kind. Not always, because that's not always the case, but you are expected some kind of support and love from your family. Sometimes that's not the case, but from friends, It's the fact that you choose to give that support
you
and
them
you love.
shit.
But it's the fact that I think it's more important the fact that you choose to do that. You choose to give the trust to confide in a friend, and choose to have faith in that friend, and you choose to love that friend in terms of like, you know, like you know, as much as you can love someone in terms of like friendly, yeah, in
friendly
a
love,
in a platonical way,
yeah,
platonic way, and
Botanical?
yeah. So the thing is, I think it's the fact that like I see friendships as really important because sometimes friendships get you out of the hole that you find yourself in, and sometimes friendships dig you into that hole, and that's when you have to decide like how friendships are very based on, and like I feel like the expectation that comes with a friend is various in terms of like, you know, I think it's also the fact that like the expectations I have from people in my class as my friends, as my acquaintances, is very different from like the expectations I have of people like you guys. Like the fact like I'm always hanging out with you guys, and like my expectations of like my expectations have changed in terms of like how my relationship with all of you guys has progressed since the beginning of freshman year. You know, I feel like at first like I didn't have any expectations, and then I had low expectations, and now I do have high expectations from you guys in terms of like how much I can trust you guys, how much I can confide in you guys, and like how much I'm able to express myself without being like judged. You know, and even the fact like if I sometimes just want a hug, like if I want that kind of like intimacy that like doesn't require like a romantic sense, yeah. Like, it's just that where it's like, you know, like, and there's also the fact like you form a close bond in friendship through hardships, and I feel like this is the case for me and you most of all, in terms of like how our feelings towards like our education and our school and all of this has like propelled us to become closer because we feel the same way, and because I'm able to know that like, the exact same thoughts that you're thinking in class, I'm also thinking them.
It's mutual understanding.
Exactly. Like it's like again
it's
with
the vibe.
Yeah, it is the vibe.
Yeah.
And it's also the fact that like as you get closer, then you have to decide like as friends to be like, oh yeah, you know what, like we're no longer just friends. Like that's just like, oh yeah, now like we're what?
So he said, now we're no longer just friends.
Yeah,
we're lovers.
We're
lovers.
I was gonna say no. We're best friends. We're like you're like, you know, you are the first person I think of if I need to tell someone this. That's not my romantic partner.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But yeah, that's just my thought process.
I think that's exactly why friendships are harder, because when I said first of all, because you were coming at me crazy,
twisting words.
But twisting my fucking words. When I said that you don't get nothing out of friendships, I clearly said that it's not that you don't get anything, but it's that they don't owe you anything, and it's you know, you're choosing to be there. I explained myself, so maybe if you listen, I'm not alone.
Ooh, that's crazy. Just silent it. For real.
Wait, no, because I'm the audio.
No, you can still.
No, you can still.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
This is so crazy. We have some technical difficulties.
that's fine.
Okay.
We're real, you know.
Right. So we're real. Be real. Also didn't sponsor this, but we. What was I saying?
Why friendships are harder.
Right. Friendships are harder because of the fact that it's solely based on that, but also I feel like there's something that happens in friendships where just in the way that life usually goes, especially when you find good friends. Because I'm not saying that every friend group is going to be like this. That's why there's some people who go a long time without ever finding like a best friend, and they just have like other friends.
I think it's our friends. But no, I was gonna say that. Hold on, finish your thought.
Okay, but remember it because you will forget.
No, I remember.
Okay.
There's some people.
Well, it's hard. Some people go life
their whole life without having friends, but there's something that happens in friendships when you find like a good one that you literally trust them more at that point to tell them certain things more than your family, or you trust them to tell them certain things more than a romantic partner. Like you complain about your romantic partner to your friends.
That's true for real.
So I laugh out too loud.
But it's true.
But yeah, and I feel like that's why friendships are so much harder, because I feel like when you do find that kind of friendship, it's like, it's even harder to break that bond because you've told them too much. Or, you know how those quotes that people are saying, like, on TikTok or whatever, they're like, oh, like, if my best friend ever, like, and I stop being best friends, like, we're gonna have to, like, kill her or some shit because, like, she knows too much. It's true. Like, that person has probably seen you at your worst, at your best, and everything in between. And at that point, because you don't want to break that bond, you're gonna have moments where you're fighting and whatever, and that's with any relationship, but you're gonna have moments where you disagree or whatever, but it's how you come back. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
I was literally gonna say almost the same thing, but it was just like, finding friends is hard. Like, that's why it's hard. That's why friendships are hard, because they're hard to find. Like, there's like...
Ooh, that's a bar. That was a bar!
Yeah, I was gonna repeat it, but I don't remember it. So.
Friendships are hard, that's why they're hard to find.
Yeah, friendships are hard, that's why they're hard to find. Write me down. But...
friendships are hard because they're hard to find. Anyway.
Whatever. Just copy and paste it. But, no, I was gonna say that because there's people genuinely that go through, like, life just not finding... Or they have friends, but they're not, like... They don't realize that they're, like, bad friends. And so then it's
Our
like...
parents.
Yeah, and so then you're like... Damn, you don't know what to do, because it's like, you're not realize that they're bad friends, but also, like, you can't be the ones to be like, they're bad friends, because then maybe that's where they are at the moment. Some people have to go through the hard shit just for them to, like, realize what they went through in order to, like, move on, you know?
Our parents literally don't believe in friends because of the fact that they were literally raised with the expectation that family is everything.
Bro, my mom used to be like, oh, like, you know, you're friends with... Because we didn't really have been friends for, like, forever. But she used to be like, I know you're friends with Edmillie, but at any given point, she can leave. She can betray you. And I'm like, damn!
And you know what I think
just say that.
You know what I think that is? I think
real.
it's projection. My mom says the same exact thing.
It's definitely
It's projection because it's like, I know my mom has had, like, really good friends in her life, bro, that probably just were like, oh, peace. Like, something happened, they got in an issue, and they just, like, in my mom's eyes, betrayed her. So it's like, ever since then, same thing with my father. Ever since then, it's like, it's like this ideology. Okay. It's this ideology of like, okay, like, I really thought this person was going to be in my life forever. And, you know, I don't want my son to go through this, or I don't want my daughter to go through it. Literally, it's trauma.
It's generational.
Generational trauma. So it's like,
damn.
I mean, what it is also, I think, everyone realizes how influential friends are too, because I think in a case of
friend jump off the bridge, would you do it too?
no,
yeah,
you know that's what I'm saying.
God.
That's the real truth of it, bro. Like, friends are probably the most influential people in your life.
Yeah, sure.
Probably until you get like a romantic partner, but like,
Even
and
after.
I still think even after.
Yeah, even after.
Yeah.
and you're right. I agree. I definitely do agree because.
You're gonna disappear when you get a romantic partner?
Right.
No, I'm not saying that.
You seem like
That's
the
kind of
type.
what you said.
Yeah.
No,
We'll talk
I'm
about
saying.
that later, off camera.
Off camera, side note.
But friends are probably the most influential
See
people.
how it is.
Because, like, especially if they're long-term friends, those are the people that you grow up with up until now. And to move, like, circle back to expectation, I don't believe we were ever really, at least me, I don't think I was ever really knowledgeable of, like, having expectations for friends. I just gone off the vibe and how they made me feel and how if they were funny or whatever. And that was just, like, I just stuck with them. But you don't realize the importance of the expectation. And we were talking about this a little bit in the first episode of, like, how, yeah, friends are hard to find once you realize that you need to have a certain expectation for them.
Oh, yeah.
Because you grow up with certain people and you're like, oh, yeah, these are my best friends from childhood. But then you realize how influential they are in terms of being
You outgrow
negative.
people, yeah.
You outgrow people, but it's also like a negative sense of how much they're affecting you negatively because you have no choice but to always be around them because you're always going to school with them for a good majority. If you're in extracurriculars, you're in those extracurriculars with them. If you're just hanging out, you're hanging out with them. It's to a point where you see your friends a lot more than you actually see your family. And it's like, obviously those people are going to be influential to you, and if they're negative to you, then that's when you start to realize, and you start growing up, and you start to realize, yo, like, I need to start setting boundaries. I need to start having an expectation on who I want in my circle, in my life. That John's even in the Bible. Like, you know, your circle of people that you're around. That's what's gonna that is you. That's gonna become who you are. The people that you surround yourself with, and yeah, it wasn't until like a couple of years ago that I started to genuinely realize, like, yo, like, the people that I'm around are literally turning me into someone that I don't even recognize, because you're just so used to everything that you're surrounded by, and it's not until you take a step back and you're really with yourself alone that you're just like, wow, I'm completely different alone than how I am surrounded by a group of people that are negative towards me. But that the same thing could happen when you take a look back and you're like, wow,
I'm a better person.
I'm a better person when I'm around this group of people. Like, and it's like, that's how influential friends are. And I feel like that's also why our parents are just so, like,
traumatized.
They're so traumatized, but they're so also just, like, picky with, like, oh, make sure you're around this person.
I
you're
think
around
that's
the
why
right
they're
people.
also so stuck in their ways. Because when you don't allow other people to be in your life because you don't trust them or whatever, and you kind of just stick to family, a lot of the times you stay complacent. Because I feel like your friends, yeah, they're also, you know, they help you be better people, but sometimes that comes in the form of telling you that you're wrong. And a lot of our parents, when someone tells them that, immediately they're like, well, now I can't really trust you, huh?
Right.
Because
Why
you're
would you
saying
tell me
I'm
that?
wrong. Right. So you must not care about how I feel. So it's just like that kind of thing of like, that's an expectation that I feel like should be placed on friends and a friend relationship. It's like, you should be able to also
hold people
say,
accountable,
hold me accountable. You should also be able to say, like, no, but you're wilding here, you know, or whatever the situation is. And I feel like that's what helps you grow. And when you find those kind of friends is where you're growing.
You know what was interesting about that? I want to challenge you a little bit on that, because you...
I challenge you.
because you are also very big about being ride or die. And sometimes people confuse ride or die with people allowing their toxic traits to, like, let be. You know, for example, like, a ride or die would be like, you know, if you have disagreement with this disagreement with this person, but you are, you know, you're someone that you are in the wrong in that argument, and your friend is telling you, hey, but you are kind of in the wrong. Would that go against the thinking of like, oh no, this is the ride or die, or this would be like, oh no, this is my friend looking out for me? You see how, like, that could be like a little tricky in that sense?
I understand that, and that makes
I understand that.
Okay,
I hear you.
I hear you,
and
I see you,
and I grow,
and I'll challenge you.
Oh,
no, I'm joking.
wow. She said Uno reverse.
Yeah, I feel like with the mentality of ride or die, that literally just derives from loyalty. And you can have loyalty for someone and outgrow them. Because there's things that override loyalty. If that person is constantly messing up your peace, I feel like that's an override. If I have communicated to you how I felt and you've, like, disregarded that, that's an override. Because now it's ride or die only works if it's reciprocated. So if you're always the one to first tell me, like, I'm in the wrong and I listen to you, that's a reciprocation. Now, you know, the problem will be fixed. I'm not supporting your actions, I'm telling you how I feel. You're listening to me. That's ride or die behavior, and I'm still telling you you're wrong. Now, if I were to tell you that you were wrong and you would get mad at me because you're saying that I'm not ride or die, you're the one that's not reciprocating, because you're not even taking the way that I'm feeling into consideration, the way that I'm viewing this, my perspective, whatever. So I feel like ride or die only works when there's reciprocation.
Okay, I see that.
And that sucks.
I see that.
Mic
drop.
But yeah, I just think that, like, I feel like also, like, there's a certain expectation of, like, the difference of expectation of, like, a girl to girl friendship, a guy to guy friendship, and then a girl to guy friendship. I think there's different
controversy coming.
There's like a very different expectation, because, for example, it's what we talked in the first episode. Like, for example, like, if you, like, I feel like this goes in general, very general, towards, like, a girl and girl friendship, to the point where, like, you know, like, if a girl and like cuddles or is like affectionate with her friend that is a girl, they don't see anything wrong with that. But if a guy does that to a guy, the go-to response, not like today too, because like before it used to be like, oh, it was an insult to be like, oh, that's gay. But now it's the fact that, like, because everyone is so open, everyone assumes, like, oh, they must be they must
They
be
must
gay.
be
Yeah.
zesty.
Right.
That's a great point.
Yeah, so because like for example, like I know like it goes in as well into like my brother relationship and sister brother relationship, but it's the fact that like you can see and sister relationship, but it's just the fact like you can see how like some even like how they joke around like between two girls is very different from how it's what is appropriate from society perspective, or like even like friendship boundaries, how a guy can joke around with a girl, or like how a girl can joke around with a guy. And I feel like that is very true because like for example, my friendship with Khalil is very different from like my friendship with you guys, but like, that doesn't mean I don't trust you guys less, but it means that like for some things I have to talk to Khalil because I know you guys won't understand the male mentality that I have, like, oh yeah, but this is why I drew this conclusion. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there's also the fact that, for example, like if I go and like I tap Khalil's back, and like because I saw you smile and it just made me laugh. But it's just the fact like for example, like if I just like tap Khalil's back, or if I decide like I give him a handshake and then I hug him. It's very different from how I come to you every morning. I come to you and Zitlali. I'm like, oh hey, and I give you guys a hug. Because if I did that with Khalil or with Donovan, everyone would be like, oh, like you're zesty, or like, oh my god, like just kiss already and stuff like that. Like those are the things that like those are the comments that you get.
Right. I mean,
but I think it also depends on like who, I guess, is who you're surrounding yourself with. Because I think for, like us, I think we're kind of like used to it. Like we don't really care. Like we're not like, ooh, they're gonna hug, they're gonna kiss. Like we don't give a fuck, Right. It's like it's cute. Like it's not really like anything like serious.
Romances are cute.
But I think
Hashtag normalized romances.
Yeah, but I think like in other people's eyes, it might seem like where it's like they're a little sus, I think it just depends.
Like that's more of a they problem.
Yeah, it literally seems like they're the one at fault because they don't see like what you guys are seeing, and it doesn't really matter what they're seeing to you. It depends like what you guys have.
And they're missing
I think that goes back to like the men versus the women perspectives and expectations, because I guess the expectation is that men aren't affectionate or that men don't show love in this way to another man. That's the expectation or whatever. So I feel like when people do see it, especially people who aren't like used to it, they will comment or they will say this. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's one of those things where if that's normal to you and that friend in that group, because I know that I've known and seen, like my brother or my older brother and his friends, they're super zesty to each other, and that's just their friendship. But then my brother has other friends that he's like, oh, what's up, hey man, whatever,
acting all big like.
Yeah, and that's just their friendship. So I feel like it depends how your friendship is with that person, and then
you know why I started thinking that way is because of the fact that like I have when I was working at my previous job, I went with two of my friends, and these two, one of them I knew since first grade, and the other one I knew because they became friends first, and seeing their interaction, when I tell you they were zesty. They were zesty. Like, they were.
Bro. It's so interesting. Sorry, I mean, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Alright, so
continue.
So what happened is it's just the fact that like they would like.
That's their friendship.
They would make comments
different.
where like they would be so out of pocket. We're like, no, you're proposing to this man. Like you are telling him that you want him. Like that's how bad it was. I was in the backseat on my phone and I heard something. I was just like. Pardon? I was like, wait.
Pardon?
I was like so confused for a second. But then after the first 2 weeks of them being like that, they started being like that with me, and I was like, wait a second. But then I was just like, no, this is their friendship. So I kept going because that's how the friendship was.
It's so weird how that works.
Right. Because you're just like wait a second, and then they're like, no, like because like at the end of the day, we still ended up talking about like. Girls are like, oh, this is my problem with my girl. This is
I have a theory that all guys want friendships like that.
No, because
it's not a theory. All guys have friendships like that.
Because the way that I felt, kind of like, oh, I feel a little like because they would be giving me compliments, but it would be like really zesty. I'd be like. Thank you.
You looking kind of
like because there's truth to it. Although it's like it's in a very dramatized, humorous way. There's like they're saying it and there's truth to it, and it genuinely is a compliment. Yeah. and most guys just don't do that.
No.
Like with I during step my freshman year, this was when I was first introduced to the zest, and and literally like I was just expecting like frat boys, like big black guys stepping, because our step team was just known to be funny.
He said, "Get lucky on Google."
Oh my god!
Get lucky? You're bugging.
I'm feeling lucky. I'm
feeling lucky.
But that was that's the expectation people. That was the expectation people like who weren't on the step team had of us. Or thought of us. They were like, oh yeah, they're like the tough guys who stomp hard and whatever. Like they were yelling all the time, stand there. But if you were to walk into one of our practices, bro, because it became a brotherhood. We got so close, like. Guys were just smacking each other's butts, bro. Like freaking throwing they're taking off their pants and then throwing their pants in their faces, bro. Like it was like
that's different.
like the norm, bro. It was it was the norm, bro. And
that's so fun.
no, trust me, I'm not. I'll tell you this after.
What does that say about you?
But,
someone touch your butt. Be honest.
Yeah, bro. Like no, like I'm not even gonna hide. Like
did
that was
be honest?
That's what he likes it.
We're gonna do a separate episode.
No, it's the rush hour. It's the rush hour.
Kinks and fetishes.
Bro,
Kinks and fetishes.
I know y'all want
talk
to
about sex.
No.
Excuse me.
Expectations.
But no, like it's like as the years went on, like because it started my freshman year, and that's how you knew the connection was growing stronger and stronger.
Oh yeah.
So it's like it started my freshman year, and by the time I got to senior year and I was captain of the team, like it became like a generational like cycle of like, oh, we're about to be gay to the freshmen, like we're about to be zesty to the freshmen, like because that's just what it was. It was almost like your way of being initiated.
It's giving a soul.
No, but like they would catch up. Like I guarantee you, to this day, bro,
it's not funny.
They're all still like that. But you know how like. That brought us so close together, bro. Like,
I'm sure it did.
What's the hard step?
Why did you name drop that?
I didn't
take on the news.
That's it.
You guys should bleep it out. Bleep.
Oh no.
But I don't know. And there's so many situations where
It's not funny.
I don't know. People would look at it as funny, but it's just what it is. Bro. Like, it just is what it. That's just, to me. I think that's the true sign of comfortability and friendship, bro. Like, within a guy-guy relationship, because we both know it's not real.
Yeah.
But to other people, they'll think it's real. But like, if other people think it's real and we know it's not real, then that's how you know that's a successful relationship.
Dude, you're like, yeah.
I feel like
I got it.
I feel like I can understand that because like. Even in, like, girl and girl friendships, there is a lot of zest. But it's not anything that's ever, like, viewed as sus. Like, everyone around you knows that you're joking or whatever the situation. Like, it's never viewed as, like, oh, that might be real. Versus, like, when a guy and a guy do it, it's like, oh, are they or no?
Yeah, it's like, why is there, what's the difference?
I think it's also funny because, like, there's some, like, me, I'm not, like, an overall, like, affectionate person. Like,
yeah.
knows. Like,
I get a hug once.
I give her
this year
a hug
was a lot.
because of that.
Last year I was going through it. That's why.
Well, there you go. And I was there, but it's like, I was there, and but it's like I don't know. Like it's just I think sometimes like hugs or like affection stuff like that like mean more because like I don't do it as often. That makes sense. But that's just me in general. Like I'm not like about to like do all that. You know.
I'm a hugger.
Well,
I'm a hugger. Yeah.
I'm
the thing is,
but
like,
it's also not like sorry. But it's also not like a representation of like my like love for like my friends or like people that I care about. It just
depends what your love language is.
That's a different topic. So
the thing is like for example, like I realized like the expectation I had, it's crazy. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the expectation. Okay, cool.
You're corrected.
The expectations that you guys had of me and like the thoughts that you had the opinions and expectations that you guys had of me drastically changed the more I opened up to you guys and the more I got closer to you guys in terms of like how I'm acting, how I am, like really like my personality, because like I am a very sensitive person, And and the thing that happens is that I get like really giddy and I get really like I allow myself to be really happy, and I'm like a childish kind of happy person like that. And like the thing is, like, for example, like I come in and I give hugs because I'm like, oh, it's a great day and this, that, and third. And like as a guy, you're not supposed to do that, you know. Even like as like a theater major, where like you're supposed to be more sensitive. Most of like the theater guys that I had in my class in high school were still kind of like very shy, very like, oh yeah, what's good, and like just a handshake or whatever. But like me, like because I grew up surrounded by a lot of like friends who were girls, I became far more like in touch with like, oh no, I want some physical touch, like I want a hug, I want like, you know, because of the fact that like that's just who I am as a person. And it's just really weird because of the fact that like it clashes with a lot of my friend groups. Like like now I don't have that many friend groups to choose, but like no.
I know we're default.
Rewind. Pause. I choose this friend group every day because I feel the most at home with these people, and it's just the fact that like with other groups in our class, I don't feel that way. That's so like sometimes like with other groups in our class, I would just be like, oh, like, you know, like, hey, what's good, and like I'll keep them like we're still friends, but we're not like, you know, like we're not linking like that, like a chain. But I feel like my closeness and connection with like, you know, the three of you and also like the people downstairs was just kind of like, oh, you know, and like some chains are stronger than others, but that just goes on in through life, you know. Right. But I feel like that's the expectation I put in myself, and I feel like the expectation really changed in how much I opened up with people in general. Yeah. And I went against the expectations placed on me as like a Hispanic male that's supposed to be like super like, you know, manly.
Like macho.
Yeah, like macho and stuff, and like
machismo.
Right, like I went against that in a way because like for example, like I'm not like the manliest guy. But, like, you know, when push comes to shove, I can be, but, like, I choose not to be because that's not how I was raised, and that's not how, like, I was surrounded with.
You should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Pat yourself in the back real quick. Do it.
Manly men are only good sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Let's finish the expectation topic on love.
I feel like,
love.
Again, this has a lot to do with genders. I realized the more we kept talking about expectations, because I feel like the expectations that come with being the man in a relationship versus, and that regardless of like if you're like in a same-sex couple, I feel like there is still someone that has more masculine energy than feminine energy out of the two of you or three of you, however many. But like the thing is, like there's always someone that has the most masculine energy, and I feel like that has a lot of expectations compared to the person that has the most feminine energy. Yeah, I want like you can start.
Since you were clearly eager.
Yeah, you were eager.
Well, that was the last topic on it.
We have 15 minutes.
Joking, go.
Well, I
There's
feel
no
like
need for attitude.
Right.
well, I feel like the expectation for love, I think, is probably the most different out of all of them. Just because I feel like in order to genuinely create an expectation on love, you have to have an understanding and just be knowledgeable about who you are, like within yourself. And with that being said, because of that, if you don't have an expectation or aren't knowledgeable who you are and the things that you want and the things that you know you need from somebody, it's going to be a little blurred and skewed within like trying to figure that out, or the other person trying to figure that out, because you have to set the expectation of how you want to be loved. And once you set that expectation of how you want to be loved, you have to then, if that person isn't aware of how to do it, you have to then teach them or like navigate them into a way of them figuring it out so that you guys can have a peaceful and you know, understanding and loving relationship.
I feel like that's with any relationship.
Yeah.
You teach everyone in your life how to love you by setting up boundaries, by accepting what you accept and what you don't accept.
Exactly.
And the people that follow that are the ones who are in your life, and obviously the ones that didn't. Or not.
Like that guy.
What do you guys? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like that main guy, Brent Fayez said, who can I love? And you tell me I can't love myself.
Or like Ice Spice said, how can I lose it from already chose?
Like,
Oh, no.
if the party's not there, then I rather not go.
Who can I love when they tell me I can't love myself?
I think it's also-
How can I possibly love somebody else?
Tell me I can't love
Okay.
myself.
Exactly.
I think it's also the fact that like I think it's in terms of like the expectation of like, yes, you can teach someone how to love you, but how can I say this? I feel like there comes an expectation of like there has to be compromise at a certain point in a relationship, and that comes with that expectation of like you have to pick and choose what you want to settle for. Yeah, I guess like this.
I think that's the same when we were talking about the expectation of like having either a career or a family.
Yeah.
It's like you have to choose what's important to you. So in the same way, in a relationship, you have to choose what is more important and what you are willing to sacrifice, which are the deal breakers, and what you are willing to sacrifice, which is everything else. And I feel like that ends up leading you into other expectations. Because here's the issue with expectations. The way that, like, if I expect you, like, my expectation for you is that you're a good listener. My version of you listening to me could be you, like, looking at me, not on your phone, whatever. And your version of listening is you being there and you're listening, and you know that you're listening, but you're, like, on your phone, and you know that you can do both. But in my mind, I see you being on your phone as you not listening. So it's like I have an expectation, and you have an expectation that you're completing, but we have two different versions of it. And I feel like that's where it comes, like, it gets a little tricky.
I was gonna say that. I was like, people are like, if they wanted to, they would. And it's like, but also, like, you don't know what people want or need, like, certain, like, in certain things. Like, people, like, want to be, like, they expect things differently for different things. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you really have to be communicative with, like, your partner.
Alright. We apologize, guys.
Technical difficulties.
Battery of the camera ran out. So we quickly charged it. So we're going to go through recommendations, and then we're going to close this episode out. It is kind of a long one, so we apologize. But,
we don't apologize.
Also, no. Camera must be forgiven because it literally cut off when I was speaking. But
so with that being said, we're going to let Zitlali start off first with recommendations. And so she is going. You can recommend any show, movie, or anything that we should watch that you think is really good. But wait, before you start, I just want to preface. Thank you. Preface by saying that me and Khalil still have our own recommendations that we gave each other last episode. We still have to watch it, so we are a little bit behind. But we're going to talk about that next episode. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I'll recommend this, but I do highly recommend. But it's just what I'm watching right now. I'm watching Daisy Jones and the Six. It is so good. So it's based off a book, and it's based off a band. It's based off Fleetwood Mac, and it's so good. And so far, yeah, I highly recommend. Then you'll like the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and in the book, the songs are written, but obviously you don't know what they sound like because they're only written.
Mm.
But they brought the songs to life, and they have a whole album, literally, like a vinyl. So it's so good. But a show that I highly recommend that's also based on a book, I don't know, but it's called Normal People, and I think that show is so good. Like, I think it's one of the best book to film adaptations that I've seen, because it's kind of a relationship, but it's about miscommunication and just it just shows a relationship so raw, and it's no, I don't know, I think it's so interesting, and it's I think literally anyone will relate to it, and it's so good, and it's on Hulu. It's 8 episodes, and Pedro, not Pedro Mescal, Paul Mescal is in it, and Daisy, oh fuck, but whatever. But they're amazing actors, and they're so good, and the show is amazing. Highly recommend.
All right.
It's also, if you love film, stills and cinematography, you'll also really like it. It has very interesting shots. So.
All right, and Millie, your recommendation?
I wasn't aware we're giving recommendations. So I'm just gonna recommend a movie that I recommend to everyone. A lot of us have already seen it. Someone Great. I need you to watch Someone Great. Because the way that I end up deteriorating every time that I see this movie, I recommend Someone Great. It's also about relationship, a dysfunctional relationship, and kind of like how to get over it or the process of healing from a long-term like relationship. Oh, it's so good. Gina Rodriguez is in it. Is that her name?
Yeah, Gina Rodriguez.
Why did I not think that was her name? What am I thinking of? Anyway. Yeah, Gina Rodriguez is in it, and Lakeith Stanfield is in it, and oh my god, they give performances of their life. So I highly recommend.
Okay. Cool.
I've been recently rewatching The Walking Dead. Because I finished The Last of Us. That's literally the reason why I rewatched The Walking Dead. Because I stopped at season 10. Because it was just like the longest like pause I've ever seen within like a TV show. They just stopped filming it for so long, and then they finally finished the whole series like recently. So I'm rewatching season 10 into season 11, and I just forgot how great that. I grew up on that show. Like I remember being like in middle school watching that, John. It's been so long. It's been running for so long. And I remember catching up with like the premieres of the episode. But yeah, I'm like finishing The Walking Dead. So I recommend you watch that, John, from the first season all the way to season 11.
It's 11
because
seasons.
it's that good of a show. And there's so many crazy actors that came out of there. Tyler James Williams was in that show. Stephen Ewan's in that show.
That's so crazy.
Denai Guerrero's in that show. Andrew Lincoln. Oh, so many people are in that show, and they're just everyone's just great in that show. So yeah, Walking Dead.
Someone great, if you will.
That's not funny.
Alright, so my
Zennis.
thank you. So my recommendation
Damn,
is
didn't know you had to be announced.
my recommendation is it's a series that I really enjoy. It's on Netflix. It's called Altered Carbon. I highly recommend the first season. It has a lot of great actors. Joel Kinnaman is in it. He's the dude from the Suicide Squad. Yeah, it's just really good because it's like a sci-fi punk murder mystery, where in the future, humans like their consciousness is like a little disc that they can exchange bodies all around, and like the really wealthy can live forever because of that. And so this criminal has to solve a murder of this rich guy, and he uncovers like a lot of criminal activities, I guess is like the best way I can say without spoiling it. It's really good. I really recommend the first season, but not the second season. Kind of like went down after that, but the first season it has a lot of like what makes us human. It has a lot of questions of like what is God, of like, you know, what can be determined as human, because it comes to the point where like, is your body what makes you human or your mind? Because they can, you know, you can change bodies like you change clothes, and there's even the fact that like people wear these silicone bodies where they can just alter their appearances at will. So it makes you think a lot about how technology is making you less human, and how it opens up the door to like being savage and being monsters in general. So I highly recommend that. It's on Netflix. It's 10 episodes, but they go by fast because you actually get really into it. Yeah. Alright, cool.
This has been episode
3.
Yeah, episode 3 of Tales from the Dorm. Thank you, special guests Zitlali and Edmillie.
Love to be here.
Let me know if you guys want to see more of them.
Yeah, and we'd be happy to welcome them because this has been a fun experience. As always, I'm your host, Dennis.
I'm also your host, Khalil.
And this has been Tales from the Dorm, and we'll catch you later.
Woo.